Hey guys, welcome to this week's market breakdown of Focus. So if you watched the previous episode, then we had beautiful setups last week. So we had this opportunity on GU, we had this buying opportunity on GU, we had this buying opportunity on gold as well, but with gold it was quite difficult to get in compared to the GU one because GU was much more easier to get in. Gold was much complicated to get in, and I didn't take any entries on this. I was in the US30 trade, and this played out a little bit. It didn't get to the target point, which was 38 flat, but if you manage this properly, then you probably had something from it. NAS100 played out beautiful because we was waiting for this pullback to come in. We had the pullback, and then we had the sell. This was the first target point, and again we didn't get to the target point, but if you manage this properly, you should have made a lot from that. If you look at the DAX as well, we was waiting for the pullback on the DAX to come in. I was looking at areas like this, but eventually the pullback came in a little bit deeper, and if you took the buys on this as well, this should have given you a lot just from that. So if you're liking the content already, hit the like and subscribe button, and let's see what we have. Let's see the pairs we have for this week. So for us to see what pairs we'll be trading during this week, or the pairs that have potential moves for this coming week, it's very important that we look at the DXY. So let's start the analysis on the DXY. So when you look at the DXY from this point, it's so easy because the last week we had this analysis saying price was going to the upside, and if we have a proper break to the downside, and then we need to see prices playing out outside this trend line and then give us, let's say, a pullback, and then we look for those selling opportunities. So let's break this down. Let's break the DXY down a little bit more. So on the daily time frame, when you see on the daily time frame, we've been moving to the upside, making highs and lows, and we had this break like this, or this violation, and price is currently trading outside the trend line. So now I think I'm say 60 to 70% more confident to say the DXY will eventually drop again to the downside, and I'll be looking at levels like 103. But for price to get to 103, I think a pullback might come in before the drop comes in eventually. So looking at it from the daily time frame, it might be difficult to see the detailed breakdown and what's happening. So let's step down to the 8-hour time frame, and as we start moving to lower time frames, the picture becomes clearer. So on the 8-hour time frame, we see a downtrend that is coming in like so. So we have these lows and highs coming in, so we have this potential downtrend. So the difficult thing about this is when you look at it from this angle, like if this is the only price action you're looking at, it's very easy for you to say price is going to the downside and we might continue going to the downside. That's a possibility, but you need to look at it from another possibility of the buyers coming back in. So if there is a possibility for the buyers to come back in, let's step to say the 4-hour time frame. If you step to the 4-hour time frame and you put your trend line, so we use this trend line all the time. So when you have your trend line here on the 4-hour time frame, now you see price moving out, and then it comes back in. Price moves out, it comes inside. Price moves out and comes in. And at this point right here, this is a point of concern for me because every time price moved out of this trend line, there was this drop back into the trend line. It moves out, it comes back in. But at this point right here, price moves out and it's difficult for it to drop back into the trend. So this is a point of interest for me, like it's a point of concern for me. So there's a question mark at this point. Why is it difficult for price to drop back into the trend line compared to these other areas? And so this tells me already there's a high possibility if price goes above 104 on the DXY, we might get a pullback to 104 to test these areas, and then we see a possible move to the upside. Now let's look at this on the hourly time frame to see if it makes sense as well on the hourly time frame. So on the hourly time frame, the same thing. So on the hourly time frame, you have this area right here which we was looking at on the 4-hour time frame, and we had this question mark as to why is price hovering around this part? Why is it not dropping inside here? So if this trend line had to maintain prices to go to the downside, then we should see prices drop back into this area so we can get prices to the downside. But if price stays outside this trend line, it's a concern for me, and there's a possibility prices will go to the upside. So on the hourly time frame, we've seen prices dropping like so, making lows and highs, and eventually we'll have this break again as well. So the same thing we saw on the 4-hour time frame. They move out and then price drops back inside. They move out, price drops inside. They move out and price drops inside. But at this point right here, we've had price pop outside again. So it's just a concern for me, and everything about this price action from the 8-hour time frame, the 4-hour time frame, it's showing a lot of concerns with the DXY at this point for prices to drop to the downside. So I'm anticipating that price might move up to this zone above 104, get a test of this area, and then we see a potential move to the upside. It's very important as well to understand that if the DXY has to drop, and if we're looking at it from, say, the daily time frame, for the DXY to drop on the daily time frame, which it's been on this uptrend, yes, we have these prices violating the uptrend, but you need a pullback to come in before the drop can continue, because price doesn't drop continuously like that. Price drops and then it gets a pullback, it drops, it gets a pullback, and that's how price moves. So on the DXY, I'm looking for prices to go above 104, have a test of this area, and then we see a potential move to the upside to areas like this, or maybe even test 105 before the massive drop comes on the DXY. Now, if my analysis is wrong, if this doesn't happen, and then the next possible thing is the DXY could get a reaction from here or get a rejection at this point, which is 104, and we see the drop to the downside. If this happens, I'll switch my buyers from a bullish bias on the DXY to a bearish bias on the DXY. Then I'll look for opportunities with respect to either of the buyers, like anyone that happens. So if the DXY goes to the upside, I know what pairs I'll be looking at, and if the DXY drops to the downside, I know what pairs I'll be looking at. So let's see if we have any other pairs we can focus on during this upcoming week. Now with NAS100, this looks beautiful because we might be setting up correctly on NAS100 already. So when you look at NAS100 compared to US30, gold, and GU, this is lining up perfectly. So let's look at this from the daily time frame. So when you look at this on the daily time frame, you have prices moving to the upside, but then there's a rejection at this psychological number here of 18,000, like right here. So we've had prices moving to the upside, and then we've had this difficulty. So there's a question mark, like why is it difficult for price to go past this point? So you've been making these runs from down here up until this point, and now you're showing me this clear rejection at this point. So with NAS100, I think this looks beautiful, and we might be taking this during the coming week. But then let's drop down to the 8-hour time frame to see what's happening actually. So on the 8-hour time frame, again, you had this move to the upside, you had a violation that came in, so you had a break of this uptrend, you had a test of it, and then you had sellers coming in. We've had these buyers again, and then these buyers are finding it so difficult to go past this point. So at this, with the current price action on NAS100, if you step down to the 4-hour time frame, all you need to do is study this price action here. And once these buyers complete the run and you get a break of this trend, which we're going to look on the hourly time frame because this might be setting up as we speak right now. All you want is a pullback, and then you take those sells. You watch out for areas like this. Eventually we need to take prices to 17,000, and all of this will be possible if the DXY moves to the upside. Then we can get those sells on NAS100. So let's look at the hourly time frame real quick. So when you look at the hourly time frame, there's much confluence here as well, because this area, we've had prices struggling around this area. So on the hourly time frame, you have prices coming to the upside real quick. We've had prices come to the upside. There's that difficulty to go past this point, and we have a break already. So I think NAS100 is lining up perfectly, and if we have to go in on NAS100 once the market opens, we're looking at this area for our target, and we have this area for our stops. So personally, I'll wait for prices to show me more selling power, and then we'll get prices pulled to the upside. Then we get those sells. But if you want to get in on an aggressive entry, you can get in here already. This is more aggressive, but a more conservative approach would be for you to wait for prices to pull back in. Then you get a proper entry from that. So the two pairs I'm looking out for, you have silver and you have NAS100. So when you look at silver from the daily time frame, this is lining up really good. We've had prices coming to the downside. And then we had this break, and then we had a test of this, and there's that difficulty. So the buyers came in, and we had this difficulty right here. So looking at it from the daily time frame, it was difficult for price to go past this point, like so. When you look on the 8-hour time frame, what we see is this move to the upside. So we have buyers coming in again here, and we have prices breaking out of this uptrend. Now let's look at the 4-hour time frame. When you look at the 4-hour time frame, it's quite difficult for you to appreciate the movement that happened in here in terms of the buyers. So we step down to the hourly time frame. So on the hourly time frame now, it becomes much clearer for you to see, because on the hourly time frame you see prices moving to the upside. Then you have this break of this uptrend. You had the pullback that came in, and this is lining up really good. So look at this, guys. So you've had prices, you had a break of this uptrend, and you've had prices pull back to see if these buyers can resume in that direction, and it's very difficult for them to go past this point. And then the sellers came in again. We had sellers coming in, and now we've had buyers pulling back again. So I think silver is lining up really good, and all you have to wait on silver is for prices to break out of this area. You can get in here with your stops above this point, and your target should be 22 flat. You watch out for areas like this, maybe to take partials or close your positions completely, because if you get in here once this break occurs with your stops above this point, this is 2.49, and that's a good risk to reward. So if you wait for prices to pull back even, so prices might pull back and give you something like 1:4, 1:5 if you're a little bit patient. So you wait for prices to break, pull back to areas like this, your stops go above this point. Just this move can give you 1:5, and if you wait to hold it all the way down, this is 1:13. So that's a lot. That's insane. So that's crazy. So we'll have a lot lining up. So two pairs I'm looking at for this coming week. You have silver and you have NAS100. So I'm looking at these two pairs for selling opportunities. Use the comment section. Tell me what pairs are you looking at for the upcoming week. And if you find this content important, if it's helping you, hit the like and subscribe button, and see you during the next one. Bye for now.